Good evening, Nigeria, and welcome to TVC News Politics on Sunday. We are reaching you live from Abuja, federal capital of Nigeria. Glad to have you join us. I am Femi Akonde. Let's begin the show by telling you that the federal government is engaging with some critical groups across the country to see if they can prevail on organizers of a nationwide protest to shelve their plans. The government is insisting that it recognizes the constitutional right of every citizen to organize peaceful protests, but there are fears that the protest may become a tool for mischief makers to instigate violence that will lead to the destruction of property. The planned protest seems to be gaining momentum online with the hashtag #EndBadGovernance, but there is also a significant population opposed to the planned protest. The organizers of these civil disobedience remain largely unknown and have kept security agencies on their toes. However, security agencies have now developed new strategies to gather credible intelligence, and that move is paying off as it has led to arrests and increased surveillance across the country. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu says that the policies being implemented by his administration will also need a little more time to manifest. And he says that all of these programs will turn around the country's economic fortunes and improve the quality of lives. My guest today is the spokesman of President Bola Tinubu. He is Chief Ajuri Ngelale, Special Advisor on Media and Publicity. Welcome to the program, sir.
Always a privilege to be with you, Femi.
Yes, sir. Why does it seem that, a government that insists it is not against the right of citizens to protest and also recognizes that right is now making frantic efforts to prevail on protesters to shelve plans?
Femi, let me, first of all, take this opportunity to put it on record that we have heard certain utterances from some members of even our own administration, and indeed from some subnational entities in the country, suggesting that Nigerians do not have the right to protest and that they would be stopped from protesting. I want to be very clear this evening in front of the nation in saying that there is nobody within our administration that has the standing, the command, or the gravitas to tell any Nigerian citizen that they cannot peacefully protest and that they cannot peacefully protest in any part of this country. We are not in office to dominate our people. We are in office to serve our people, and this is the position of the President. His Excellency President Bola Tinubu has been very clear that the notion of peaceful protest is a central component of an effective functioning democracy. He cited the fact that as an activist, it was the power of peaceful protest, even against the murderous and brutal nature of the regimes in office at the time, to ultimately achieve the result of a return to civilian rule in 1999. So it will never be a president with that background that would in any way insinuate or suggest that Nigerians should not engage in peaceful protest if they have decided to do so. I want to make that abundantly clear. And the last point on that is that anyone who disagrees with the notion from inside of government, the notion that we are here to serve our people, that we're not here to dominate them, that Nigerians do have the right to peacefully protest, they are lining up themselves against a commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who will defend the right of Nigerians to peacefully protest in any part of this country. And we want to be very unequivocal about that.
Well, a lot of people are worried about, the outcome of the NTAS protest, how it turned out. And that's why this time around, they want to be very careful and see if indeed they can prevail on these protesters to shelve their plans, because they say again that they have credible intelligence that this might as well be hijacked like NTAS.
Thank you, Femi. And such concerns are legitimate. But we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we don't operate in bad faith simply because a certain scenario unfolded several years ago under a different leadership in the country. Our view is that indeed there are lessons to be gleaned from what happened in 2020, but that does not now mean that Nigerians who have lived through that experience, who understand that it is entirely possible for a peaceful protest to be hijacked by such mischievous elements and maybe political forces in some cases, that this now means that we cannot trust Nigerians to peacefully protest. I think Nigerians are very well aware of the fact that when bus terminals were being burnt down, they ultimately had to suffer the consequence of that. When there are services, public services and utilities that you were used to using as part of your daily existence, that you can no longer use for several months into years because of the actions of just a very few, just a handful of mischievous individuals operating within a crowd, I think there's a recognition on the part of our people that it is not in their interest for such activity to take place. When you have a micro, small, or medium-scale enterprise being run by a Nigerian citizen who's working from morning to night to make ends meet, and you have a protest movement that's been hijacked and people are now looting such stores and creating havoc around these environments, ultimately it will be that Nigerian citizen who's toiling, who's working hard every day, who's going to suffer the consequence of that. So our position with respect to the potential for a hijacking is about defending the right of Nigerians and defending their properties and defending, of course, their personal safety with respect to, working out the security, platforms and the security strategy with respect to how we're going to ensure that those mischievous elements do not operate successfully within what is a legitimate and peaceful protest movement. That does not mean that we are unaware or naive about the fact that there are political interest groups in the country who may seek to, leverage on the presence of a peaceful protest to achieve an ulterior motive. We recognize that. Our security agencies are on top of that. But ultimately, we believe in the wisdom of our people, in the principles and values shared by our people, and we believe that our people fully understand that it is in their interest to protest in a way that is in conformity with international norms and national regulations.
Okay, and then, the protest is coming with the theme, End Hardship, an end to hardship protest. I know the president has also stated that he understands the hardship that a lot of citizens are going through caused by necessary economic reforms, and that his administration is also implementing some policies and programs that will make life better for the people. But all of these programs would need a little more time to manifest. How much more time?
So look, I think we respect the intelligence of our people. We do not believe that Nigerians believe that there is a switch, some magic red switch in the president's office that he'll flick and all of a sudden superhighways and power stations will just appear. People have a sense, and I think there are centuries worth of contemporary human history to clearly reveal that the development of nations, even at the subnational level, development of entities, of units of government, these things take years and decades ultimately to develop. That's not, I think, unknown to our people. I think what is clear, though, is that even as you have your medium to long-term plans with respect to how you're going to transform an economy, build the kind of infrastructural, foundation that would support an inclusive economy that is sustainably growing, not on the basis of petroleum resources, but on the basis of human talent, intellectual property, agricultural production, and the like. These things are going to take time. People know that. But it's also important that as you roll out this, as you implement these and execute on these medium to long-term plans, that you're very, detailed and meticulous about the implementation of those short-term measures. So, for example, this administration, under the leadership of His Excellency Mr. President, has put in place successfully and verifiably, single-digit interest rate credit facilities to over 1 million micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises within 1 year. And that is in view of very difficult economic conditions that were inherited with respect to, billions of dollars worth of foreign exchange backlogs inherited in the Central Bank of Nigeria, with respect to, obviously, the fuel scarcity and many of the other challenges we faced with respect to the Naira scarcity and many of the other challenges that were encountered on day one. He's been able to achieve these things. When the president sets out to build, right now you have over 300 roadways across all states of the Federation being reconstructed, and that is not including the superhighway from Lagos to Calabar that is under construction, the Badagry to Sokoto highway, and many, many others. Not to talk of $1 billion being right now expended on seaport reconstruction across the eastern and western seaports. There are a number of things that are going on now that create direct employment and set us up for a prosperous future where our infrastructure actually supports the foreign direct investment drive that this president is aggressively pursuing. But it is also incumbent upon our administration, not just at the federal level, but obviously the incumbents at the state and local levels, to ensure that whatever policies are being implemented to create fiscal space for households, that these things are actually done, that we don't have any kind of administrative incompetence, that we don't have unnecessary bureaucratic delays. These are things that are in the hands of government officials to ensure, and they have to ensure those things. The last point I would make on this, Femi, is that when you look at the measures of government, right now we've rolled out the National Student Loan Program, right, where you have over 100,000 beneficiaries, students who originally would not have been able to access institutions of higher learning, but are now able to do so, not just accessing their tuition, but accessing the logistics, accommodation, upkeep, and all of that. If you look at the consumer credit program, you're looking at a scale of over 1 million Nigerians in the first year that will benefit from that program. These are things that take time ultimately to be executed. Okay,
so we have a scheduled commercial break. We'll just quickly take that break, and then we'll return to continue with the rest of the program. Welcome back to TVC News Politics on Sunday. I still have here in the studio President Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity chief, Ajuri Ngelale. You have said President Tinubu is not opposed to the right of citizens to peacefully protest because he also has a background of engaging in this kind of civil protest that also help pile pressure on the military regime to restore constitutional democracy in Nigeria. And before we went on that break, you're talking about some of the policies, some of the programs and policies of this administration. Now, I'd let you wrap up on all of these policies that are crucial to the well-being of citizens and will still need some more time to manifest.
Look, there's no question about the fact that there is a lot of work that it has to be done, and there's a lot of work that is being done, and some of which is not going to have the bells and whistles of TV cameras, and nobody's going to be sitting in the office, for example, of the CBN governor as he's doing his paperwork, which leads to the full payoff of $7 billion worth of foreign exchange backlog. It has massive impact on investor confidence. It has massive impact on the medium-term kind of monetary space in the country. But that's not something that people are necessarily going to be dancing and celebrating about. So there's a lot going on. I think the key thing for us is to recognize that the president has agreed that we are going to ensure that our states, and now by virtue of the president's action with the institution of the suit that ultimately resulted in a Supreme Court judgment that has led to local government financial autonomy, he's going to ensure that the local governments now have the fiscal space they need to be able to truly deliver the dividends of democracy that our people require at that level. I think that is restructuring in practice. That is the kind of thing that Nigerians would need to give some time to see what the difference actually will translate into in terms of the impact on their livelihoods, right? So, for example, if you have a situation where money is entering, a joint account with the state governors on the part of the local governments, and that money is not translating to effective, roads delivery or, other critical human development sectors, for example, especially in, health, et cetera, you'll know that when we have approved that there's going to be more money being sent, and it's being sent to the local governments directly, people should feel that. But again, it's not going to happen on the day of the judgment. It has to manifest itself. I think the other part of this is to recognize that it is under the leadership of this president that we have had a 100% increase in the national minimum wage. And I think it will be difficult for, everybody in the country to fully appreciate what it took in terms of the leadership of the president to get the private sector to agree in uniformity with the state governments and local governments, making sure that everybody is on the same page with respect to the payment of a new national minimum wage. It's not easy to achieve that. He achieved it. I think there are a lot of elements of what the president has done that Nigerians truly do appreciate and truly do recognize as progressive. These are things that we've been in this democratic dispensation now for about 25 years. We have not seen some of the measures that this president has now put in place ever been put in place before. So I think people have confidence, but I think it's also fair to say that people are frustrated. People do feel that they are, buckling under this intense economic difficulty with respect to energy prices, food inflation, and many of the other elements. But what we are working hard in hand with our people to communicate is that the trends are moving in the right direction. We are seeing revenues going up. We are seeing inflation growth stagnate into a descent. So we have come through the worst of it, and this is what we're communicating to our people. And we will, together with them, get to the end of where the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, let's move to some other issues now. We have always had President Bola Tinubu talk about Nigeria being open for business. He's gone around the world engaging with foreign investors to bring their money to Nigeria. And there's this state visit. He's been invited by President Xi Jinping of China on a state visit. I know people, the economists are now saying that this clearly holds some prospects and opportunities for Nigeria. But the question now is, how will Nigeria take advantage of this agreement to ensure it's not lopsided but balanced for national interests?
Thank you very much. So I think if we take Lagos State as a case study in development with respect to His Excellency Mr. President's use of state power to bring in private sector investment that ultimately leads to the uplift of livelihoods in the millions of people, on a scale of millions of people, then we would know that this is a president whose only focus and interest when he, attends such important bilateral or multilateral engagements overseas is about how he's going to achieve the national interest and our national objectives. And it's going to be no different on this state visit on the invitation of President Xi Jinping. Look, this president is going to go with a very clear agenda. The agenda is going to be about how we can leverage on Chinese technical excellence and financial wherewithal, which we know is extremely significant, to be able to mobilize the kind of capital formation required to assist us as we build out the infrastructural foundation of what will be one of the world's leading economies, Nigeria, in the next 20 years. But it requires that kind of partnership. Now, this is not going to be a matter of just chasing a loan. What we're looking at now is win-win, mutually beneficial private sector investment in sectors that would massively create jobs for our people. These are, inclusively growth incubating sectors, such as agriculture, right? So whereas maybe before the focus would have just been on maybe an oil and gas investment and maybe one infrastructure project somewhere, this president is looking at those inclusive developing sectors, right? He's looking at agriculture. He's saying, look, how can we, leverage on Chinese capital and expertise with respect to agricultural mechanization? How can we ensure that our farmers across the country have access to equipments and supplements that would ultimately double and exponentially increase their yields so that we can bring down food inflation and flood our market with locally produced food items? This is the vision of the president. The president goes there saying, look, how can we create new investments in renewable energy technology manufacturing, for example? Obviously, I'm at the forefront of that particular aspect of it, but there are a lot of other aspects that the president is tackling.
Yes,
at
and
the
you
moment.
just returned from China, where you met with
Right.
major industrial cooperation.
Yes.
As part of your assignment on the climate front. Now, what are some of the low-hanging fruits that can be plucked from these your engagements in the climate front before the big wins?
It is unbelievable what we can achieve when we reach out. What I mean by that is, when I was in China, I had the privilege, alongside the executive governor of Nasarawa State, His Excellency Abdullahi Sule, and the MD CEO of Infraco, Dr. Lazarus Ambazo, to go on the invitation of a major industry in China, CATL, which is the world's largest EV battery manufacturer. Essentially, they've created a very detailed presentation to us because they have an interest in Evergreen City. And so they tailored a presentation to us about what those technologies are that could ultimately be put in place within Evergreen City for mutual beneficiation. What we ended up coming to was an amazing set of technology that CATL has mastered and is producing and is already proliferating around the world, which essentially enables, there's a typical solar plant, right, where you see the solar panels all lined up in long rows in some field somewhere, and it lights up certain areas. What they have now is they have a similar setup, but it's attached to an energy storage unit that looks like a power generator, very large. And they are able to capture hundreds of megawatts, and it sounds like a lot, but I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of megawatts worth of solar power capture that would now have its own dedicated transmission line and distribution infrastructure toward specific industries, right, that require that level of output. So they have it tailored to a 10 megawatts version, 50 megawatts version, 300 megawatts version, depending on the scale of industry that you're talking about. If we take a surgical approach to powering green industrial development, I'm talking about the manufacturing facilities that manufacture solar panels, that manufacture EV batteries, especially in lithium-rich Nasarawa State, where Evergreen City is sited, in things like biomass facilities, wind blade manufacturing for the wind farms. These things can be powered on solar energy that is captured by an energy storage system that is ultimately able to feed those industries. So you have cyclical power generation and offtake in a way that allows for CATL to recoup its money, not from the Nigerian government, not through Chinese loan, but by the actual industry that is off-taking the power directly from them. So it's a win-win. All we are doing is and this is why it's important to have sophisticated leadership in the person of His Excellency Mr. President, because we're now able to have a situation where government simply enables, because the president, in his vision and wisdom, signed on to the reform of the Electricity Act early in 2023. That has now enabled for the liberalization of elements that were previously exclusive with respect to generation and distribution. So what we now have is, when we now go to China, we can actually say, look, we will take hands off as government. You come into the site, you will power, for example, a Chinese or a German solar panel manufacturer. They will off-take your power. They will pay you directly, and we are sitting back watching the power generator and distributor benefit from the offtake that is generated by the manufacturing facility that is off-taking. So they get the power they want to generate their products and generate profits, and then the power producer gets the profit they want, because ultimately you have that off-taker. This is the ecosystem that we can develop without any gas, without any oil, without any coal, or without any other form of power generation. That is not to say that gas is not going to be a central theme of the future of our economy. It's going to have a major role in terms of our industrialization. But we are setting Nigeria up for a dual track where we can have green industry right next to gas-powered industry. And this is something that this is going to be a major legacy of His Excellency President Bola Tinubu. All
right then, Ajuri and Ngelale, sorry, we're out of time. But it's interesting how you've been able to navigate your job as a special advisor, media and publicity. A very demanding job at a time when there's so much to communicate to Nigerians. Match it with these important job as special advisor on climate. And, a lot of people are also asking, like, how have you been able to juggle it?
Well, look, Femi, leadership is about coordination and effective delegation, and making sure that you've prepared a team that can carry out assignments on your behalf in a way that ensures that when you are not physically present, standards don't reduce in any way. We've been able to achieve that, but ultimately it is a credit to the belief and faith that His Excellency President Bola Tinubu has had in us to balance these two assignments. And fortunately, so far, we have not fallen short. But look, there's still a lot of work to do, and we're going to continue to be humble in our approach to the hard work that we have to get done. All
right, thank you so much, Ajuri and Ngelale. Well, that's it on our program today. You can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Do not forget to like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching. I am Femi Akonde. See you.